this. So I'm doing start up with a walk-up. My headlights are properly mounted secured. They're clean and clear. My clearance lights, left turn signal, right turn signal, four-way flashes are properly mounted secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. No loose or missing nuts and bolts. They are clean and clear and of the proper color, amber to the front and side, red to the rear. He explained to you all the amber front and side thing. I don't know why we say red to the rear because there's no red lights back here, but that's what it is. The proper way to open this is 3 points of contact. Or 2 points. First, I check my engine oil. I remove my dipstick, wipe it off, put it back in, remove it, make sure it's in safe operating range above the refill marker. Next is my coolant reservoir. My coolant reservoir and fluid is properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, no loose or missing nuts and bolts. I would check the fluid via the sight glass. If no sight glass, I'd pull the cap once the engine is cooled. It is not leaking. My hoses and clamps are properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, no abrasions, bulges, or cuts. They are not leaking. My alternator is properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, no loose or missing nuts and bolts. The electrical connections are secure and not damaged. It is belt driven. It is operating properly. It is belt driven. The belt deflects no more than 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch. It is not cut, frayed, or showing signs of wear. My power steering fluid and reservoir is properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, no loose or missing nuts and bolts. I'll check the fluid via the sight glass. If no sight glass, I pull the dipstick. Safe operating range is above the refill mark. My power steering pump is properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, no loose or missing nuts and bolts. It is operating properly. It is gear driven. It is not leaking. My air compressor is properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, no loose or missing nuts and bolts. It is gear driven. It is not leaking. I'll go over here to your water. So, on some of them, I don't know if I told you, some of the water pumps are on that side, some are on this side, and I did this wrong. My air compressor's right here. I'm used to the other truck. And some of the water pumps are gear driven or belt driven. So this one's gear driven, so my water pump is properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, no loose or missing nuts and bolts. It is gear driven. It is not leaking. Now you go back over here. Now all this, you guys will probably figure an order in which you do it. I do most of it like the paper. So next, you go to your steering box. My steering box is properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, no loose or missing nuts and bolts. It is not leaking. My steering box hoses are properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. There's no abrasions, bulges, or cuts, and they are not leaking. My steering linkage is properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, no loose or missing nuts and bolts or pins. My joints and sockets are not damaged, not missing, and they are properly lubricated. Next, you move to your suspension. Your left and your front and back suspension, front and back spring mounts are properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, no loose or missing nuts and bolts. My bushings are properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. They are not loose. They are not missing. I add shit just because it's better to be safe than sorry. They are not damaged. They are properly lubricated. My leaf springs are properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. No loose or missing nuts and bolts. They have not shifted. They are not missing. My U-bolt is properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. No loose or missing nuts and bolts. My shock absorber is properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. No loose or missing nuts and bolts. It is not leaking. Then on your brake system, my brake lines, fittings, and clamps are properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. No loose or missing nuts and bolts. No abrasions, bulges, or cuts. It can supply air to my brake system. My brake chamber is properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. No loose or missing nuts and bolts. It is not damaged. There are no holes. It is not leaking. The chamber clamp itself is properly mounted, secured, and not missing. My slack adjuster and push rod is properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. No loose or missing nuts and bolts or pins. There is no more than 1 inch of pull when the brakes are released. My brake drum is properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. No loose or missing nuts and bolts. There is no grease or oil contaminants on the drum. It is not leaking. My brake linings are properly mounted, secured. They're back here. No loose or missing nuts and bolts, not cracked, bent, or broken. There's no oil or grease contamination. It is not worn. It is worn no less than 1/4 of an inch. On to my tires. My steer axle tread depth is no less than 4/32. It is not worn. It's 4/3. Huh? It's 4. The rear's 2.
Oh, okay.
It's 4/32. My tread, or my sidewall and bead, are properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. No abrasions, bulges, or cuts. My rim, or my valve stem and cap, is properly mounted, secured. No abrasions, bulges, or cuts. It is not missing. They are not bent. They are not cracked, bent, or broken. My rim is not cracked, bent, or broken. It's free of illegal welds. My lug nuts are properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. No loose or missing nuts and bolts. There is no cracks or distortions radiating from the holes. There is no rust or shiny threads indicating looseness. My hub axle seal and cap are properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. No loose or missing nuts and bolts. I check the fluid level via the sight glass. If no sight glass, I pull the cap. Onto my door. My mirror and brackets is properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. No loose or missing nuts and bolts. It is clean and clear and free of illegal stickers and obstructions. My door opens and closes properly. It's properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. No loose or missing nuts and bolts. My hinges and seals are secure, not missing. My weather stripping is properly mounted, secured. It is not cracked or frayed. My window opens and closes properly. It is free of illegal stickers and obstructions. My steps and catwalk are properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. No loose or missing nuts and bolts. It is free of debris and can hold my weight. My exhaust system is properly attached. Not cracked, bent, or broken. No loose or missing nuts and bolts or clamps. There is no holes. There is no dents. It is free of carbon soot trails, and it is not leaking. My drive axle and U-joints are properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. Or no, my drive shaft and U-joints are properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. No loose or missing nuts and bolts. It is not twisted. It is not damaged. It's properly lubricated. My frame and cross members are properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. No loose or missing nuts and bolts. It is free of illegal welds. And the cross members are not missing. My gas tank and cap are properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. No loose or missing nuts and bolts. It is not leaking. My cap is tight and not leaking. It is held on by 2 straps that are properly mounted and secured. There's no signs of movement. My air lines and electrical lines. My air lines are secure at both ends. There's no abrasions, bulges, or cuts. My fittings are in place. My glad hands are locked. They're not cracked, bent, or broken. They are not leaking. My electrical lines are secure at both ends. They are not cut, torn, frayed, spliced, taped, or burnt. They are not dragging. Where am I at? Boom, boom. Now it's on to my 5th wheel. Right? 5th wheel. My mounting bolts, which are right here, are properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, or properly mounted, secured, no loose or missing nuts and bolts. My platform is properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, no loose or missing nuts and bolts, no broken welds. My skid plate is properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, no loose or missing nuts and bolts or pins. It is free of illegal welds and is not damaged and is properly lubricated. My release arm is not cracked, bent, or broken. It is fully engaged. My apron is properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. No loose or missing nuts and bolts or rivets. It is free of illegal welds. And there is no space between the skid plate and the apron. Next we'll go to my rear tractor suspension. So my front and back spring mounts, bushings, leaf springs, U-bolts, and shock absorber, I would check the same as the front. My rear tractor brakes, my brake linings, my brake line fittings and clamps, brake chamber, slack adjuster, push rod, brake drum, and brake linings, I check the same as the front. Onto my wheels. My tread, my sidewall, bead, rim, valve stem and cap, axle seal hub and cap, I'll check the same as the front. The difference is my tread depth is 2/32. My bud spacing is evenly spaced, free of debris, and not damaged. Boom. My airbag is properly mounted, secured. No abrasions, bulges, or cuts. It is not leaking. My airbag mounts are properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. No loose or missing nuts and bolts. My mud flaps are properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. No loose or missing nuts and bolts. Not cut, torn, or frayed. They are the proper distance from the ground. The back of my trailer, my left turn signal, right turn signal, four-way flashers, tail lights, brake lights are properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. No loose or missing nuts and bolts. Onto the trailer, front of my trailer. It's properly mounted, secured. There's no bulges, there's no holes, there's no cracks, there's no loose or missing nuts and bolts, there's no missing rivets. Side of my trailer, there's 50% DOT tape, clean and adhered and of the proper color. It is properly mounted, secured. There's no loose or missing nuts and bolts. There is no bulges, cracks, bulges, or holes. My clearance lights are properly, not all trailers have clearance lights, but if they're up there, you got to mention them. Are properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, no loose or missing nuts and bolts. They are clean and clear and of the proper color, amber to the side. My frame, cross member, and floor is properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, no loose or missing nuts and bolts or rivets. My floor has no holes. My cross members are not missing. My landing gear is properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, no loose or missing nuts and bolts. My gear is in the fully raised position. My handle is in the stored position. The landing pad is free of debris. I might be missing stuff, sorry. I don't think I am, though. I'm just ready for my test tomorrow. I said I might miss something. I don't know. You guys have the shit right there, right?
I'm kind of looking. I don't know, maybe you missed the Kingpin. I wasn't sure if everything.
Oh shit, the King. Oh, so here's the good part about this. You'd be like, hold on, I forgot something. My Kingpin is properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, no loose or missing nuts and bolts. And the jaws are securely wrapped, secured around the shaft. Sorry, I'm just trying to. I'm ready for my test tomorrow.
Yeah, we are your inspectors. So we're gonna apply the pressure right now.
My rear trailer suspension. My front and back spring mounts, leaf springs, bushings, U-bolt is properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, no loose or missing nuts and bolts. My torque arm and radius rod and bushings are properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. Or no, when I say those in the front, my bad, man, I messed up. So my front and back leaf spring, my bushings, my front and back spring mounts, my leaf spring, my bushings, and my U-bolts, I would check the same as the front. My torque arm and radius rod are properly, and bushings are properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, no loose or missing nuts and bolts. My torque arm is square. My rear trailer brakes. My brakes fittings, linings, and clamps. Brake chamber, push rod, slack adjuster, and brake chamber, I would check the same as the front. My tread is 2/32. My tread sidewall, bead, rim, lug nuts, axle seal and cap. I would check the same as the front steering. My tread depth, which is 2/32, my bud spacing, and we'll just say the valve stem and cap. Oh, you know what I forgot? Here's another learning lesson. So if you do not say your inflation up there, that I check my inflation, and then you go here and you say, oh, refer to the front, none of it counts. So you gotta make sure to say it up here, and if you don't say it up here, say it back here, and say I would check these two the same as I did back there. So don't forget inflation and a couple other things like I just did. I'm just nervous about my test. Check inflation here with the tire gauge. I would do the same with these front two as I did here. My ABS light and marker light are properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, no loose or missing nuts and bolts. They are of the proper color, amber to the side, red to the rear. Now to the rear of my trailer. My trailer door and latch are properly mounted, secured, cracked, bent, or broken, no loose or missing nuts and bolts. Hinges or ties, the ties are not cut, they are not frayed. Can I open this one? It is here with 100% DOT tape, clear and clean. You have the proper color. I don't know if they'll let you open it.
Yeah.
And latches securely. I say all my lights back here together. So my clearance lights, left and right turn signal, tail lights, brake lights, four-way flashers are properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. No loose or missing nuts or bolts. They are in the proper color. They are clean and clear. Red to the rear. My mud flaps are referred to. I would check the same as I did the front. I would check this side of the trailer as I did this side. And that's it.
So after your